Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Week 8 preview for Champman FPL. A little bit early this week. I've got some time this morning, so get the recording done, give you all a little bit more time to take it in. It means I can shut the laptop over Christmas and not worry about this at the weekend. So Game Week 7 was just last night. So how did you get on? I think it was quite a low average, wasn't it? Because there were no clean sheets whatsoever, but plenty of attacking returns out there. So hopefully you got something. Was a really strong week for the sim data. So off the top of my head, we had the Liverpool left-hand side came in again. The Middlesbrough front two, we said were hogging returns, and they both did really well. They did a lot better than maybe expected. I didn't expect a 5-1, but not sure what Leicester were doing with their lineup there. But Middlesbrough are a low rep team, so that can happen when they're away. But Leicester paid the price for their strange lineup. Some points there. Julio Arca, star man. So that dragged me to a 66 for the week, and a green arrow. So happy with that. So I'm up to 35 overall rank now. Leeds found a bit of form at home to Chelsea as we expected, and I don't think there were too many shocks around really, were there, that I can think of. So anyway, on to Game Week 8. And first up, Arsenal Man United. So Man United will go into this game defensively. So David O'Leary away from home. I think we saw this in season 1, didn't we, with Leeds, where when Leeds went away to the bigger sides, it wasn't so good. And this is why with David O'Leary, he'll go away to high rep teams and defend. So it won't happen too often through the season, but Arsenal is one where it will. And Arsenal at home, obviously a good team themselves, will attack. So Arsenal have got the more aggressive tactic in this. So I'd expect them to probably come out on top. Certainly in terms of an average anyway, which they do. So averaging over 2 goals a game, 14 wins out of 20, really strong. Not a huge amount of clean sheets, it is Man United. But yeah, they look good for the win. See here, Man United only won 3 times, and one of those, see this one in red. So there was an early red card in that game where Man United went on to win. So yeah, only 2 wins that weren't red card assisted, but they are Man United. So even if they set up defensively, they've managed to win a few times. But Arsenal certainly playing the percentages are the more likely this week. Maybe one of those weeks where we can take a bit of a gamble and not captain Rude, perhaps. In terms of the player stats then, so strong home game for Arsenal, you'd expect Henry to be on top, and there he is. But followed by Man United players, kind of strangely. Veron and Ruud van Nistelrooy, so let's say it is Man United, so they will score some goals even if they don't win. Was only 7 clean sheets for Arsenal. And Veron and van Nistelrooy took the majority of Man United's sort of odd goals here and there. Henry strong for Arsenal, and then after that, Van Bronckhorst, Bergkamp, but again, that could be maybe Kanu, or is probably more likely to play than Bergkamp. And then Pires and Tikhonov on the wings did okay. Blackburn Ipswich. So Blackburn will attack this one at home. Ipswich won't go super defensive. They've got this kind of passive thing I spoke about last week. If you actually play the game, if you leave your tactics just nothing like this, it's not ideal. And Blackburn will go in and attack at home. And I thought for a moment, we were on course for our first team to average over 3 goals a game. Sort of willing them on at the end, but then we had a couple of 2s and a 1 here in the last 4 that sort of knackered it. But still, really high average for Blackburn. They really did like this game. 15 wins out of 20, 5 draws, no wins for Ipswich at all, no clean sheets for Ipswich at all. And yeah, their average goals dragged up by the. We had a 3-3 3 times, and a 3-2 as well. So yeah, it could be a high scoring game. Certainly from Blackburn's side, looks really good for goals. So only twice they've scored once. So 18 times out of 20 they've scored 2 or more, Blackburn. And then yeah, whether they get the clean sheet to go with it, it doesn't look that likely. But yeah, for goals, certainly Blackburn looking really good. Ipswich, no chance of a clean sheet, but not impossible they could get the odd goal. So in terms of player stats then, so big numbers. I think this is the biggest sort of double we've seen so far this season. So not much between Bent and Janssen. It tended to be, when Blackburn play their 2 up front, it's normally those 2. Although I did notice last night, De Boer played up front, and Janssen played the AMC role. So it was Bent and De Boer up front with Janssen in behind them. So I hold De Boer. So yeah, I've got my fingers crossed that maybe he'll start up front in the next game as well. That would be a bit of a bonus, but I think he should be in the team either way. But yeah, Bent and Janssen in the Sims tended to be the front 2, so they did really well. Lasseau, again, you're gambling on formation with Lasseau, unfortunately. Again, last night they played 3 at the back, so Lasseau won't feature when they do that. But if they play a different formation, then Lasseau can feature and do well. But yeah, it's a bit of a gamble. And then from midfield, yeah, Dunn, Solano, looking good. Hignett, and then for Ipswich, Chirico. So he appears here a lot, doesn't he? Gets good returns from the fullback position. Okay, Charlton, Watford. So this looks like a cracking game. A bit like how we spoke about Spurs, Sunderland last week. They'll both attack each other, and it should be a good game. And that's what we got, wasn't it? Last night from them. So this is similar. Lower standard of teams, but still they're going to go at each other. They're both going to attack. So it should make for a good game. Lots of goals. And you see that in the average. So Charlton just shading it, just over 2 goals a game, but Watford not a million miles behind. Their average is brought down by the 5 clean sheets that Charlton got, whereas Watford only managed 1. But you could definitely see a high scoring game. So we got a couple of 3-3s, a couple of 3-2s. Some 2-1s. So yeah, Charlton just edging it. But yeah, goals could be goals either way, really. Player returns. So Jason Ewell, main man up front for Charlton. Kinsella, Davies, and Bartlett also looked good, but I mean, it could, Brian, could easily be Brian Hughes or Wilcox on the other side, really. The thing to take from it is it looks good for the goals in the game. So if you've got Charlton assets, maybe cheap Charlton assets that normally sit on your bench, then maybe it's a week to actually give them a start. And similar for Watford, although it's their 2 sort of more expensive assets, the front 2 that came out. But yeah, good game for goals, this one. Derby Bolton. So Derby will attack at home, and Bolton will not go super defensive because Derby aren't that high rep. But yeah, so they're not going to sit in. They'll give Derby this gives Derby a good chance of scoring some goals, I would say. But Bolton won't be super defensive. And then from the 20 sims, so you see that Derby is sort of borne out in the averages. Derby's slightly more attacking, so their average is slightly higher. Fairly low for clean sheets on both of them, but Derby winning 50% of the time. Like, one of the games was red card assisted. So yeah, Derby just shading it. They've got a decent ceiling. They've scored 3 on 4 occasions, so that's not too bad. Scored twice, a handful of times as well, so there's a good number of games there where Derby have either scored 2 or 3. Sort of around about a 50% chance, isn't it, without counting that Derby will get 2 or 3, maybe slightly higher. And then Bolton, they've hit 3 a couple of times as well. So yeah, not terrible. Derby just shading it, really. As I say, you'd expect that. They're at home and they are attacking. So in terms of the player stats, no massive numbers from anybody. Returns fairly spread out. But Jody Morris, so we're seeing this again where a central midfielder that doesn't normally appear on these lists is appearing in a game against Bolton. So we had Gary Flitcroft, and then last week we had Two-Guy, and now we've got Jody Morris. So it didn't happen for Flitcroft or Two-Guy in the end, but it's definitely a pattern we're seeing, isn't it? Central midfielders sort of coming out of the woodwork to do well against Bolton. So maybe one to think about when Bolton play some of the bigger teams. That could be interesting. Like, you know, if the likes of Flitcroft, Two-Guy and Morris are appearing against Bolton, then, you know, I think I'm going to want Veron when Man United play Bolton and things like that. So something to remember for Bolton. I think that they definitely seem to be weak in the conceding returns to central midfielders. Okay, that's that. Everton Newcastle. So Everton will attack at home. Newcastle will play with their normal and long ball tactic. And that churns out a fairly even game. I mean, Newcastle have got better players than Everton. Yeah, and they've just shaded it. But as I've spoken about before, their long ball tactic, they will take the odd beating. Only one in the sims. Everton just aren't that good attacking wise, I suppose. So yeah, quite a lot of clean sheets by Newcastle standards, really. Fairly even for wins and low average goals. Yeah, this isn't a game I'd pin too many hopes on, really. A lot of ones and noughts across the board. So yeah, not a game to target, I would say. Player stats. So you see, low numbers, Shearer and Robert coming out on top. You could probably have guessed that, really, but not big numbers. Leeds v Spurs. Leeds will attack at home, and Tottenham will actually defend in this one. So it's a defensive mentality, but it's not super defensive, because they will try and counter-attack, and they won't have men behind the ball. So it won't be quite as dire as when sometimes you see teams will be counter-attack no and men behind the ball yes. That's when you get really low, sort of 0.3, 0.4 goal averages. So they will be defensive, but they will have a go when they get the ball. But overall, it's looks better for Leeds, averaging not far off 2 goals a game. Spurs just under a goal a game, and that average is brought up slightly by this red card effective game where they won 4-3. So there was an early red in that one, and Tottenham managed to score a few goals. But yeah, other than that, they've only scored more than once, 3 other times. So it doesn't look a great week for Spurs. But for Leeds, pretty good. They did blank 4 times, so that's not a complete impossibility, but pretty high ceiling. They've scored 3 or more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times they've scored 3 or more. So that's pretty good. So yeah, it's just which way it goes. You could be unlucky and get one of the lower ones, but their ceiling is high in this game. So in terms of returns, so Viduka out on top, with strike partner Robbie Keane. Kelly did well from the fullback position. Ian Hart did pretty good as well, but just didn't play every time. So I wouldn't discount him because he's not on here. If he plays, then he's a danger. It's just, we've seen it, hasn't it? He just doesn't play every game. So when you run 20 sims, you might miss 5 or 6. So that sort of lessens his opportunity to get on this list. So don't discount him just because he's not here. But yeah, pretty low numbers really, other than Viduka. But say Leeds do have quite a high ceiling, so if you've got Leeds assets, I'd be pretty happy with that. Leicester Chelsea, so both teams will attack this game. Leicester because they're at home, and Chelsea because Leicester are fairly low rep and Chelsea are fairly high rep, so they're not scared of going away to Leicester and attacking, which is good. So potentially another decent game, this one. Both teams will attack. Well, that's the theory anyway, but Leicester's average goals were not very good. I suppose that's just Leicester attack versus Chelsea defence. Chelsea's defence is really good, isn't it? And Leicester's attack isn't that good. And Chelsea, when they get in front, do try and kill the game. So yeah, you'd want Leicester to go in front to have any chance really of a proper ding dong that you maybe should get from a game where both teams are attacking. If Chelsea go in front, they'll probably try and close it out. And even Chelsea's average was brought up by 2 red card affected games where Leicester had a man sent off fairly early and Chelsea went on to score 4. So yeah, disappointingly, I think, given the tactics, it doesn't look as good as it maybe could have done. I think Chelsea are just a bit too strong for Leicester. Whereas when you get like a Charlton, Watford, or a Sunderland, Spurs, and they both attack each other, they're fairly even in ability. So it makes for a good game. But I guess Leicester just aren't good enough to make this one work. So yeah, pretty good chance of a Chelsea clean sheet. Chelsea look good for the win. In terms of player returns, so Simmed Hasselbank out of the game now. So we should see Good Johnson appearing here instead of him now. So pretty good game for him and Carboni. And Zenden, I'm not sure. You have to check with the official account whether Zenden will be back or not. I'm not sure. I know he was injured this week, but yeah, not big numbers really. Man City Liverpool. So Man City, the lowest rep team in the game. Liverpool coming to town. They won't attack, but they're also they're not defensive by any means. No men behind the ball. Not a defensive mentality, just a normal one. And then Liverpool, away to a low rep team, will attack. So in the 20 sims, really close actually. Bit closer than I expected. Man City are decent, but I thought Liverpool would maybe do a bit better than this, going away and attacking. But Man City, with their front two that are really good, people like Thiago, Svensson, they've got good attacking assets. So yeah, when they're at home and a team come and attack them, they will get chances themselves at the other end. So pretty even game, but not a high average for either team. Fair amount of blanks. Man City 7 clean sheets, Liverpool 6 clean sheets. So yeah, it's there are other games to target in terms of potential goal fests, I think. Yes, and just for there was a red card in this game, so I just thought I'd use this as a good example of why, and I've spoken about it before, like why that's a bit pixelated, but you get the idea of why I thought it was important to start highlighting when red cards happen, so you can make up your own mind about the sim data from that, so you can see here how much of a difference it makes. So Hyypiä went 2 feet in on Huckabee, penalty kick, Hyypiä was sent off. One-Trop scored the resulting penalty, and then immediately after the penalty goes in, Man City looked to take the game to their opponents, so they'd have gone from the normal mentality to attacking, and Liverpool abandoned their attacking shape as they were forced to defend. So all of a sudden, there's 26th minute, Man City changed their tactic to attacking, Liverpool changed theirs to defensive. Completely changes the game. So in terms of player returns for this one, not big numbers. You see, they were both only averaging just over a goal a game, but Thiago seemed to be involved in pretty much every time Man City scored. One-Trop, as you'd expect, in there as well. So I think this tells us that a lot of Man City's goals came from set pieces. And yeah, really low numbers. Liverpool's returns really spread out, but Berger again appearing here. So again, that left-hand side. We spoke about Liverpool's left-hand side a few times now through the season, and again last night, that's where all their goals came from. Smeetscher, Berger, getting returns themselves, feeding the front two. It seems to happen that way a lot. Sunderland Millwall. Sunderland will attack. Millwall will defend. So looks like it should be a good game for Sunderland. And there you go. Sunderland over 2 goals a game. Millwall struggling. They've scored 2 a few times. They 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of 20. Millwall have scored twice, but 16 times out of 20 it's either 1 or 0, and 10 times out of 20 Sunderland kept a clean sheet, so around about 50% chance of a clean sheet for Sunderland. Look really good for the win, high ceiling. So they've scored, so let's count this up, so once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times they've scored 3 or more. So this is one maybe to target. In terms of returns, so Phillips right up there, 13. Les Landes is here again. All of a sudden, he's appeared 2 weeks in a row. But as I said last week, Sibon looks like he's favoured to be Phillips' partner in the actual game. So don't go out and buy Les Landes. But yeah, maybe Sibon as a 1 week punt wouldn't be the worst shout. And then yeah, a few goals from midfield as well. I know Arca wasn't on that list, but don't be put off Arca either. Villa Boro. So Boro, low rep team. Aston Villa at home will attack them. Middlesbrough. So Steve McLaren, a fairly offensive-minded manager. He won't go away and shut up shop. They'll just have a normal mentality, not men behind the ball, so they give themselves a chance. And yeah, pretty close this one. Villa just shading it, so that they'll be ever so slightly more attacking in their mentality. So 1.5 goals, but again, that's not huge. $11 wins, 5 clean sheets, so low clean sheets for both. One of Boro's wins was red card affected. But yeah, a Villa reasonable chance. And Boro themselves, it's not bad. It's just not great. There's just more interesting things this week than this game. In terms of returns, so Angel and box 6, neck and neck. Villa got a few more goals from midfield. And Rickard here as well. So again, it was the front two that tended to hog the returns away from home for Middlesbrough. Said that last week, and boy did it pay off. So that's it. So picks of the week then. So all strikers this week, and we've got 6 because there's no separating in terms of the total. 4 players on 13, but yeah, Bent and Janssen. So that Blackburn game against I can't remember who it was against now. Was it against? I've completely forgotten. Blackburn against Ipswich. Blackburn against Ipswich. They seem to really fancy that. So I think that Blackburn versus Ipswich and Sunderland versus Millwall are the 2 games perhaps to target this week. No Ruud van Nistelrooy on the list. So as I said at the beginning, Man United will go away with a defensive mentality to Arsenal. So it could be one of those weeks where you gamble on somebody else. So yeah, there's a few options for you. I think they're all good picks this week. And that's it. So Merry Christmas again if you're listening to this before Christmas Day. Good luck with game week 8. Don't forget that it happens on the Wednesday again, so it'll be the 30th. Check out Luke's stream from the official account whenever that comes out. Keep up with the official account Twitter page. Get all the injury and suspension news I've come into it quite cold this week, just to kind of get it done. So I haven't made notes about who got injured or sent off or anything from last night. So yeah, you'd have to go and mine that information for yourself. But there's the data. Good luck with it, and see you on the other side.